I'm 74 years old. My name is Margaret Hale, and most mornings now I wake up in a quiet house and feel a weight in my chest that has nothing to do with age and everything to do with time. This week I watched a video of a man who is 40. He sat in front of a camera and told strangers that he had wasted his life. He said he had no house, no savings, no career worth mentioning. He talked about his 20s like along the stake. Too many nights out, too many concerts, too much time trying to look impressive instead of becoming anything real. He looked tired, ashamed, afraid, and he kept saying the same thing over and over, that time was running out. I sat there listening, and I felt something twist inside me. Because I am 74, and I did not waste my life the way he thinks he wasted his. I did everything right. I followed every rule I was given. I made the choices people praised. And I need you to understand something that no one ever told me when I was young. Doing everything right does not save you. You can follow the rules perfectly and still end up alone in a silent house, asking yourself if you ever really lived. That is where I am now. That is what I know. The man in that video is grieving the freedom he used poorly. I am grieving a freedom I never even touched. I came of age in the late 1960s. People like to talk about that time as if it was wild and fearless for everyone. It wasn't, not for girls like me. But things were changing. Women were demanding more. Doors were opening that had been locked for generations. I could see those doors. I stood right in front of them. And then I turned around. I chose safety. I chose approval. I chose the path that made everyone nod and smile and say I was sensible. I got married at 22. His name was Richard. He was charming and steady and had a job waiting for him at his father's company. People said I was lucky. That word came up a lot. Lucky. As if life was something you won instead of something you built. I didn't ask myself if I loved him. I didn't ask what I wanted my days to look like. Those questions felt dangerous back then. Selfish. I was afraid of being difficult, afraid of wanting too much, afraid of being left behind. So I said yes. I wore a beautiful dress. I smiled in photographs. I became Mrs. Richard Whitfield, and little by little I disappeared. It didn't happen all at once. That's the part no one warned you about. It happens so slowly that you don't notice anything is being taken from you. First it was the house, a nice house in a nice neighborhood. Suddenly my days revolved around keeping it clean, keeping it presentable, keeping it worthy of quiet judgment. I learned to care deeply about things I had never once dreamed about as a girl. Curtains, lawns, what the neighbors might think. Then came the children, 3 of them. I loved them. I still do. Loving them was never the problem. The problem was that I poured everything into them, every ounce of energy, every dream I never chased for myself. I told myself that was what good mothers did. Then there was Richard's career. I supported it fully. I hosted the dinners. I laughed at the right moments. I made sure his life ran smoothly so he could move forward without friction. I was the quiet structure, behind his success. Years passed, decades, 51 years of being useful, reliable, needed. And then, 3 years ago, Richard died suddenly in our garage. A heart attack, just like that, after the funeral, after the casseroles stopped arriving, after my children went back to their lives. I was alone in that house for the first time, and I realized something I still don't quite know how to say out loud. I had done everything right, and I had nothing that was mine. I remember standing in the kitchen a few weeks after Richard died, staring at the counter, trying to decide what to make for dinner. There was no one to cook for anymore, no preferences to remember, no schedules to work around. And I froze, because I realized I didn't know what I liked. Not really. I had been feeding other people my whole life. I had never learned how to feed myself. That sounds small, embarrassing even, but it cracked something open. I began to notice how empty my days felt, how quiet. I would sit in the living room and look at the furniture we'd chosen together, the photographs on the walls, the little signs of a life that looked complete from the outside. And I felt like a guest in my own home, like I had wandered into someone else's story and stayed too long. I thought about that man in the video again, the 40-year-old. He talked about wasting his 20s as if joy itself were a crime. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't, but at least he knew what made him feel alive. At least he had memories that belonged to him. When I look back, my memories are useful ones, productive ones. I remember folding laundry late at night, packing lunches, sitting in bleachers, clapping at the right times, being present for everyone else's milestones. I do not remember ever staying up until dawn, talking about nothing, with someone who made my heart race. I never took a trip without a plan. I never kissed someone I wasn't supposed to. I never made a choice that scared me, just to see who I might become. I didn't burn. That man talked about burning like it ruined him, like all that fire was wasted. I never had any fire at all. I spent my life being careful, and now I sit here, wondering what warmth even feels like. There's something else that hurts, and it took me a long time to admit it. I had chances, real ones. In 1973, the same year I got married, there was a woman on my street named Patricia. She didn't marry, she went to law school. People whispered about her, poor Patricia, she'll regret it, she'll end up alone. I believed them. I ran into Patricia years later at a grocery store. She was a judge by then. She had travelled the world. She spoke about her life with a kind of quiet ownership that made my chest ache. I don't know if she was happy. I don't know if she had regrets. But her eyes were awake. When she spoke, she was there. When I talk about my life, I talk about Richard's promotions, my children's accomplishments, the value of the house. I talk about other people because I don't have much of my own to tell. That is the cost of choosing approval over curiosity, safety over desire. I want to be clear about something. I don't hate my life. I don't regret loving my children. I don't wish Richard were gone sooner or that I had run away. This isn't about rejecting responsibility. It's about something quieter and harder to name. It's about never asking myself the questions that mattered. I told myself I was being smart, sensible, that wanting more was childish. But it wasn't wisdom, it was fear. Fear of standing out, fear of being wrong, fear of disappointing people who would not be there at the end anyway. Now I am at the end, or close enough to see it clearly. Time moves faster than you think, faster than anyone warns you. One day you are young and careful and convinced there will be time later. And then later arrives and you realize time does not negotiate. I cannot go back. My choices are already behind me, settled and quiet. But you are not where I am yet. You are still standing at doors that haven't closed. And all I want you to know is this: the biggest regret is not failing. It's living a life that was never really yours. I don't have much time left to become someone new. I know that now. My days are shorter. My body reminds me. The quiet does too. I have learned to live with it, but I will not pretend it doesn't hurt. If there is one thing I wish I had understood sooner, it's this: there is no prize for being perfectly behaved, no reward at the end for choosing what is acceptable over what is true. You don't get extra years for being careful. One day you will sit still long enough to hear your own thoughts clearly. And when that day comes, I hope you recognize the voice speaking back to you. I hope it sounds like you. If this story means something to you, hold it gently. You don't need to change your whole life. Just don't ignore the parts of you that are quietly asking for more. I am Margaret Hale. I did everything right, and I am telling you, softly and honestly, that it wasn't enough.